When beginning their educational journey, children have the same cognitive ability. Then why is it that by the time they reach their senior grades, their math abilities are so widely spread across the spectrum? Why is it that some students excel effortlessly in math, while others struggle with it despite all the work they seemingly put in? I believe that the problem is not with the inherent abilities of children. There's no such thing as a math gene. I also believe that math is a beautifully logical subject that is very easy to master if learnt the right way. The problem then is with the way children learn math, and in particular, the way they build their math foundation. A house with a weak foundation is going to be an unstable house, no matter how fancy the top floors are. Math is like that. If the foundation is weak, whatever you build on top of it doesn't matter. The child will always struggle. Since this has such far-reaching implications, let's understand it in more detail. Let's talk about some of the stages in a child's math life cycle where learning is compromised and the foundation is not built strongly enough. We can broadly divide this life cycle into the following segments: grades K to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 10, and 11 to 12. Let's take the stage when students move from the second grade to the third grade, around which they have to start doing a lot of arithmetic, working with numbers, performing operations on them, learning fractions, and so on. In most cases, students end up working through thousands of arithmetic drills without a complete grasp on these concepts. My estimate is that more than 30% students start experiencing the problems of math aversion and math anxiety as they pass through this stage. The next big transition happens in the 6th grade when algebra is introduced to them for the first time. While many students end up getting somewhat comfortable with arithmetic, the jump from concrete numbers to abstract symbols, for example, 3 plus 4 becomes x plus 4, is too much for most students to make. Along with algebra, children also have to start dealing with negative integers, while geometry becomes much more expansive. Thus, the transition from the 5th grade to the 6th grade is very significant in terms of the complexity of the subject. And yet, the response of the system is to give students more and more drills to solve and test them on their ability to solve those drills. This becomes a difficult jump for the child, who is being loaded with more and more math without a strong understanding of the concepts of what they are learning. At this stage, my estimate is that more than 60% of all students, that is 3 out of 5 students, have already built severe deficiencies in their understanding of the basics. The third big transition happens at the 8th to 9th grade stage, when math becomes much deeper and more specialized. You have concepts like polynomials, linear and quadratic equations, trigonometry, congruence and similarity, mensuration of solids, and so on being covered in the 9th and 10th grade. These concepts are even more involved than the math up to the 8th grade. This means that even the students who have fared relatively well so far end up struggling with math at this stage. The typical response to this situation is students signing up for tuitions and additional classes, in the hope that these interventions will be quick fixes and help them do well in their tests and board exams, etc. However, given that the foundation of most of these students is entirely missing, they end up resorting to a lot more memorization and rote learning because the sword of the next test hangs over their necks and they have no time to go back to foundation building. This is the stage where parents start getting anxious because the boards and the competitive exams are not too far off, and parents start feeling compelled to get their children to do better. This is also the stage where students and parents start seriously considering the option of dropping math altogether when they cross 10th grade because they think math is too hard and math is only for a select few. In my estimate, more than 9 out of 10 students, that's a staggering 90%, lose the math battle as they cross this stage. You can already imagine what happens when a student moves from 10th to 11th in the last major transition of the schooling years, so let's not even get into that. It's clear that to really solve the math problem, what is needed is foundation building right from kindergarten onward. A child will be at a severe disadvantage post grade 8 if their math foundation has not been built properly before that. Every teacher and parent has an obligation to address the problem, otherwise the child's future is being jeopardized. One of the principles which I've always believed in strongly and which we at Cuemath have always adhered to is to focus on building a student's foundation instead of just prepping the student to score well on a certain test. When you build the foundation correctly, good performance on tests is an automatic and easy byproduct. In fact, although it takes more time to build foundations, the results when they eventually show up are far more powerful. Staying true to this principle has enabled us to build strong math foundations for tens of thousands of students. In a survey done with parents of students who were part of the Cuemath system for more than 9 months, we found that 95% of Cuemath students have fallen in love with math. 78% students now score consistently above 80% on the school tests, and skills like speed, accuracy, and logical reasoning have improved multifold. We also saw how in the 2017 Math Olympiads, 78% of Cuemath students who appeared for this test ended up getting a top 5 rank in their schools. These are staggering numbers that point to the fact that powerful and long-lasting results can only be an outcome of a strong foundation. Whether you are a teacher, a parent, or just someone who happens to be close to children, encourage them to build their foundation in math. This will help them tap the infinite potential within and set them up for their lifelong success. Thank you.